Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Today we will start studying the Brahma Sutras proper. As we have already seen, the Brahma Sutras are 555 in number according to the classification by Bhagavad-pada Shankaracharya. And they are classified into 4 chapters having 4 sub-chapters or 4 sections. These sections are called Pada, and all Padas have further Adhikaranas, subsections. So there are 4 chapters having 4 Padas. So there are totally 16 Padas. The first 4 sutras are considered very important, and traditionally it is believed that they represent the first or the 4 chapters of Brahma Sutra. Now we will see the first sutra of Brahma Sutras: Vedanta Sutras, Shariraka Sutras, Uttaramimamsa Sutras, Badarayana Sutras, etc. There are many names for this text: Brahma Mimamsa Sutra, etc. The first verse is Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. The word Jigyasa might be there in some Indian languages, but the meaning here is different. We will see that. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Atha means then. Atah, therefore. Brahma Jigyasa. Jigyasa, Jnatum Ichha Jigyasa. The desire to know is called Jigyasa. The desire to know is called Jigyasa. The desire to live is called Jijivisha. The desire to fight, it's called Yuyutsa. The desire to eat is called Bhubuksha. So the desire to know is called Jigyasa, the desire to know. Atha means then, means there is something which has happened before that. Atah, therefore. So something which has happened before that, therefore, since that has happened, Brahma Jigyasa. Now let there be the desire to know Brahman. Brahma Jigyasa means desire to know Brahman. So let the search for the knowledge of Brahman start, or let the inquiry into Brahman begin. Brahma Jigyasa. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. That is the meaning. Now we will see what Shankaracharya has to say here. So Shankaracharya says, now another thing I will remind you, which we have already seen earlier in Adhyasa Bhashya itself, but I will just remind you that a Bhashya usually talks about a particular subject and wants to prove that a text talks about a particular Siddhanta. Siddhanta means a philosophical standpoint. A philosophical standpoint. So the Brahma Sutras have been commented by Shankaracharya, by Ramanujacharya, by Madhvacharya to prove their philosophical standpoints. So the text which has been commented is the same text, and the philosophical standpoints which they prove are quite different. So that is Siddhanta. Now there is a subject, Vishaya. There is a Siddhanta or a standpoint. A standpoint which has been made Siddha, means which has been proven. So it is the standpoint of the person who is writing the text. And there can be ordinary doubts about the text itself, or about how this particular text means this particular thing. There can be doubts about that. Or there can be doubts about how to read the text itself, because there are different kinds of interpretations. And then there is what is called as Purva Paksha. Very important. Purva Paksha means the view of the opponent. So because a particular text is being commented upon in a particular manner by a particular commentator to prove a certain thing, it is not very different from the advocates trying to make their point in an argument and trying to give an interpretation to a particular law. Advocates do that, and also judges also do that. Many times, many things in law is not very clear. So a particular interpretation is given, and the law allows one that freedom to interpret. And that is why there is what is called as case law, where Supreme Court or High Courts come up with judgments where they tell what a particular law means or does not mean. So these bhashyas, commentaries of prophets or great sadhakas like Shankaracharya, they can be compared to these kinds of judgments. So there you understand that, oh, so the Smriti or the Shruti, Smriti, this whatever is written from memory is Smriti. Shruti is whatever is there, it is apaurushaya, Vedas, they are Shruti. So they are heard, they are not written. So whatever this Vedas say, or whatever a particular text says, like the Gita, the true meaning of the text is this according to this commentator. So they throw light on the particular text to clarify some confusions, to remove confusions. So that is, when they do that, they also imagine or guess what would be the reaction or the response of a person who does not believe or does not accept their standpoint. For example, now we are studying the Bhashya of Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya's Bhashya has been written by him to prove Advaita Vedanta. Advaita Vedanta. So Vedanta, generally people think it is Advaita Vedanta. Vedanta, there was a book, it is out of print. So there was a book called 40 Schools of Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta, 40 Schools of Advaita Vedanta. So Advaita Vedanta itself has 40 schools, written by Roma Chatterjee. She was a professor of philosophy in the University of Calcutta. So 40 schools of Advaita Vedanta. The 40th school, she says, is the Advaita Vedanta philosophy of Swami Vivekananda. She calls it Manava Advaita. That is her coinage. So if Advaita Vedanta itself has 40 schools, then we don't know how many schools Vedanta has. So Vedanta has got Ramanuja, that is also Vedanta. Dvaita Vedanta, Madhvacharya. Then Vallabhacharya. Then so many people are there. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also Vedanta. So many Bheda, Vedanta, all this. So there are so many people. Vijnana Bhikshu, he wrote a commentary which is the largest commentary on the Brahma Sutras. It is called the Vijnanamrita Bhashya. So Vijnanamrita Bhashya also talks about a different kind of Vedanta. So there are so many schools of Vedanta. Advaita Vedanta, as propounded by Shankaracharya, is what is being told here. And then his later followers made many other schools based on what Shankaracharya said. Some people read Shankaracharya's commentary in a particular manner, some others read in a particular manner, and then they created various schools. So when Shankaracharya is saying Advaita Vedanta, he is talking about Advaita Vedanta. When he thinks that a particular thing what he is saying might have a different interpretation by some other school like the Nyaya or the Sankhya or the Mimamsa or the Vaisheshika or the Yoga, etc., then he puts that question, that objection of that particular school and says, no, this cannot be so because this is like this. So their line of argument. Now, Shankaracharya himself does not say that this is Sankhya are saying or this is Nayayika are saying. So we have to understand based on the context and based on the content of the objection. Again, to give an example from the legal world, in some firms, before a particular advocate or a lawyer goes to the court, they conduct what is called a mock trial. So they give an idea to the advocate what kind of objections might come from the opponent party. So they will say, objection, Your Honor. May not be like what we see in the movies or elsewhere, but that will be there. There will be an objection. So that kind of an objection is there when we talk about different philosophies. And so that objection is posited. Posited is a very philosophical term. It is guessed and it is presented by the writer of the commentary, the commentator. So the objection might not be exactly like what the opponent party might ask, but it is very close to that. So this is called Purva Paksha, and it is very important because then your logic is tested. Your logic of presenting your part of the argument is properly tested and verified. Now, this text will take different points of different philosophies, and that is what will happen in the first chapter of Brahma Sutra. Different philosophical points will be analyzed from different philosophical standpoints. And so sometimes it would be easy to forget that it is an inquiry into Brahman. So there is a word of caution I will give in the beginning itself. We are reading or we are trying to understand the Brahma Sutras so that we understand our true nature, that is Atman or Brahman. So the focus of the study of scriptures is not to become a Pandit, but to become a person who knows God or who knows Brahman. That is very important. And in the context of Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, we know how Sri Ramakrishna used to compare Pandits with those high-flying birds, which though they are flying very high, have their sight on the dead bodies on earth. So Pandits are like that. So we don't want to become dry scholars. We want to understand our true nature. And for that, this is the map which has been laid out by Vyasa, Badarayana. And so we are trying to understand this text through the commentary of Shankaracharya. Having said that, another thing is, Brahma Sutra is not calculus. You can understand calculus, so you can easily understand Brahma Sutra. Brahma Sutra is very simple. It is a myth I have already told this, that it is very difficult. It is a very simple text. And why it has been made so much hullabaloo? Because very few people have actually read the whole text. So the fear of the unknown. If you don't know a particular thing, then you think that it is something very difficult. It is very difficult to understand, etc. That is not at all true. And most of you do so much complicated calculations every day, like when you invest in the mutual fund or something like that. So you are all very well equipped to understand the Brahma Sutra. Now we start with the Bhashya of Shankaracharya. Vedanta Mimamsa Shastrasya Vyachikyatsitasya Idam Adimam Sutram. Very simple Sanskrit, as is the wont of Shankaracharya, as is his style. Vedanta Mimamsa Shastrasya, of the Shastra or the scripture or the text, which is what? Vedanta Mimamsa. Mimamsa, analysis or study for understanding. Vedanta. So Vedanta Mimamsa Shastrasya. So that Shastra or the text which would try to understand Vedanta, that means Upanishads. The Shastra which will try to understand the Vedanta, Upanishads, Vyachikyasitasya, of that which is going to be explained, which is going to be told in a manner that we can understand. So this is a text which has been written with the purpose of clarifying or elucidating, explaining, expounding what Vedanta. So of that text, Idam, this Adimam Sutram is the first aphorism or first sutra. Let us use the word sutra because aphorism is not very close to the original meaning of sutra. Sutra finds a place in the Oxford Dictionary. Many Indian words have now found place in Oxford Dictionary. There is a small digression. Some British people came to India, as we all know. And the one British person, he went to the house of a clerk and he wanted to have dinner or lunch. Because I was not there personally, I don't know exactly whether it was dinner or lunch. So they wanted to have that. And this British person happened to be in Madras Presidency. And as we all know, what is a Madras meal if there is no rasam? So the rasam was there, and that rasam, special rasam was there, which was called Malaga Tanni. So this British person had that Malaga Tanni, and it was so spicy with water coming from his ears and nose and everywhere. He asked, "What is it you have fed me?" So the person told Malaga Tanni. And we all know British people, how can they pronounce Malaga Tanni? So he said, Malliga Tanni. Malliga Tanni. You have fed me Malliga Tanni. And so was born the word Mulligatawny, which is one of the first words, Indian words, to be put anglicized and put in Oxford Dictionary, Malliga Tanni. And it became one of the very much sought after recipe in many, even till today, it continues to be so in the restaurants of London. So from there it started. Now practically anything like dosa, idli, parota, sambar, everything is finding a place in the Oxford Dictionary. And if these things find place in Oxford Dictionary, obviously Sutra is also there, Tantra is also there, many other things are there. Puja is there, Gunda is there. And of course, Gunda is there for wrong reasons, Gunda Raj in India, etc. So Sutra is there. So let us just follow what is there. And because we all are Indians, shamelessly, we are slavish. We will not follow anything unless it is followed by the white skin. So because the white skin Sahib is following already Sutra, let us also follow Sutra. Sutra. Idam Adimam Sutram. So that which is trying to explain the Vedanta, of that which would be now explained, that text Of that text, this is the first sutra. What is the sutra? Athato Brahma Jignasa. Very simple. See, the simple thing can be complicated. So how, as we already once, I think I told here, how it can be complicated in Harvard University when Swami Vivekananda gave a lecture. One person who was the listener asked the other person, I heard that this person is a great scholar, but I'm disappointed. So the other person said, why are you disappointed? I could understand every word he spoke. What kind of scholar is he? So if you speak in a word people understand, then you are not a scholar. So by that measure, by that standard, Shankaracharya is not at all a scholar because he's very clear. But afterwards, to show your panditya, you have to make so much of chachadi, khichdi and all that. Bisibalabat, so much things, so many things you will make. And then finally people will not understand. I'm not going to do that. That's not the purpose of this. Now, idam adimam sutram. This is the first sutra. What is the sutra? Athato Brahma Jignasa. Ataha Brahma Jignasa. Shankaracharya says, Tatra, there in this sutra, Atha Shabda, the word called Atha, Anantaryartha Parigrihyate. It has to be Parigrihyate, understood or accepted as Anantarya Artha. Anantarya means in the meaning of succession. Succession means what? One thing happening after something has happened. So after something has happened only this can happen. That is called Anantarya. So if somebody is doing MA, that means we can safely conclude that that person has done graduation. Somebody is doing PhD, we can conclude that person has done graduation and also masters in that subject. Anantarya. So it is in a succession. So Atha means something has happened before that. Only after this is happening. So now the question will be automatically, what is that Atha? Now you see, you have to understand a context here. When the Yoga Sutras have been written, so Atha Yoganuशासनम, Patanjali Yoga Sutras start with this phrase, Atha Yoganuशासनम. So now the text of yoga starts. So there Atha means adhikara. It means beginning. Adhikara means beginning. So here, that is why Shankaracharya clarifies that here it means Anantarya Arthaha. If some of you have read, as I think most of you might have read, because the misconception about Brahma Sutra is not there about Yoga Sutra. That is also something very funny. People think Yoga Sutra everybody can understand and just go and sit and immediately they will get Asampragyata Samadhi. One of the first books of Swami Vivekananda everybody reads is Raja Yoga. And they come and say, but Swamiji, here it is written, without a teacher, you should not practice. So now we want a teacher. Will you become my teacher? I say, Baba, don't, you have told me, don't tell anybody else, then I will be in trouble. Because in Ramakrishna Mission, gurus are only few. So that is why here Shankaracharya clarifies that Patanjali Yoga Sutra might have said Adhikara Artha, means Atha means beginning. Here it does not mean beginning. Here it means Anantarya Artha, means something has happened before. Something has already happened before. And so like this, he says, Na Adhikara Artha. It is not in the sense of beginning. Brahma Jigyasaya Anadhikariyatvat. Why? Because Brahma Jigyasaya, this is the desire to know Brahman, Anadhikariyatvat. It cannot be commenced. The desire to know Brahman cannot be started. There cannot be a beginning for desire to know Brahman. Oh, so how can it be? Why can't there be a desire to know Brahman? Why can't there be a beginning? We will see that. Then Shankaracharya says, Mangalasya cha vakyarthe samanvaya abhavat. Usually when a text is started, the first portion of the text, or the beginning lines of the text, are what is called Mangala Charana. Mangala Acharana. Mangala Acharana means what? Mangala Acharana means in that particular text or through that text, the author is praying to God, A. B. Praying to one's own Guru. C. Is telling about oneself. D. Is explaining the Anubandha Chatushtaya. There are 4 things in a text. See, nowadays, there were 2 boys were talking among one another. Both are bluff masters. One is bluff master plus plus, another one is bluff master plus plus plus. So one fellow was telling, you see, my mother, she is very talented. The other fellow said, oh, is it so? What can she do? You give her any topic, she can talk on the topic for hours together. Then the other boy said, that is nothing. My mother is more talented than your mother. Oh, what can she do? You don't need to give her any topic. She can talk for hours, even otherwise. Without any topic, she can talk for hours. So there are many books nowadays written. There will be one title of the book. You open the book and start reading, and there will be a conclusion. There will be no connection whatsoever between the title and the conclusion and the content. Just like many movies. You will find why they gave this name to this movie. Suddenly, then maybe in some dialogue towards the end of the movie, somebody will tell that word, and so they will justify the title. So justify the title. People who know DTP, I'm not talking about right justify, left justify, center justify. I'm saying they will make the title reasonable. Okay, there is a reason for giving this title. Whoever did not get the joke, please forgive me. So the point is this here, Mangala Charana. In Mangala Charana, as one of the many purposes of Mangala Charana is Anubandha Chatushtaya. What is Anubandha Chatushtaya? Every text, they will try to tell you who is the adhikari of the text, who is qualified to read the text. Then Vishaya, what is the subject matter of the text? And what is the prayojana of the text? Why should you read? Because in Samskrita, we have this adage, Prayojanam anuddishya muda api na pravartate. Even a fool will not do something without understanding the purpose or without a purpose for something. So even only if there is a purpose, people will act. So what is the purpose of reading the text? And then there is sambandha. There should be a connection between the text and the purpose. There should be Vishaya and Prayojana. There should be a connection. Without connection, you cannot keep on telling something. So that is the framework, how a text is written. That is conveyed in the Mangala Charana. And also this prayers to the Guru, prayers to God, etc. is done for the Avigna Samapti Artham. Means without any obstacle, that particular text should be completed for that also. So this is what generally is the goal of Mangala Charana, which is written, Mangala Acharana, which is written in the beginning of a particular text. Like if you take a text called Vedanta Sara or some such other text, you will find this Mangala Charana to be the first prose or poetry, to be the first part of the text. Here, Shankaracharya removes that doubt also. He says, this is not Mangala Charana. Mangalasya cha vakyarthe samanvaya abhavat. It cannot also be taken as Mangala Charana. Why? Because there is no samanvaya. There is no samanvaya here does not mean synthesis. It can mean synthesis in some other context. Samanvaya here means the connection between the meaning of the words in a sentence. It's a grammatical usage. Connection between the words in a sentence. So there should be some meaningful connection between the words in a sentence. So that is called samanvaya. If you want the English translation, which are more puzzling than enlightening, I will give you an English translation. It is called syntactical connection. There is no tact in that. Okay. And there is only sin in that. So why do you want that syntactical connection? Anyway, so syntact, I made that up on this spur of the moment, that sin and tactical. People don't understand all the jokes. What can be done? Samanvaya abhavat, because of the lack of a connection of meaning of the words. Where Athato Brahma Jigyasa. In the Athato Brahma Jigyasa, we don't find any property of it being a Mangalacharana. I just now told you, praying to God, praying to Guru, or identifying oneself. Anubandha Chatushtaya, okay, there is Vishaya is there, Brahma Jigyasa, that is told there, but most of the things are not present. So that is why Mangalasya cha Vakya Arthe, in the meaning of the sentence, Samanvaya Abhavat, there is no connection between words. So that is why it cannot be considered Mangalacharana. Then he says, Arthantara Prayukta Eva Hi Atha Shabdaha Shrutya Mangala Prayojano Bhavati. So, Arthantara Prayukta Eva. Only when this he, indeed, he means indeed. So, we are very fond of Indians, we are very fond of this word he, either in Sanskrit or in Hindi or similar such words in other languages. So, he means, I think from Hindi also it has come from here only. In Hindi, they will make it he, wo aisa hi hai. He is, and that's why we have this tremendously Indian form of wrong English. He is like that only. Okay. So what do you mean by he is like that only? He is like that. That is proper English. We will add one only. Then only we will get some satisfaction. You see, just now I added only. Only then we get satisfaction. So Arthantara Prayukta Eva. It is only for the, when we use this word Atha Shabda hai, word Atha, in a different meaning, that Shrutya Mangala Prayojano Bhavati. After hearing it, just by hearing it, it gives us the Prayojana, purpose of Mangala. So it can mean Mangalacharana or it can mean Mangala means auspicious. So only when it is used in a different sense, this Atha Shabda gives us the meaning of Mangala or gives us the sense of Mangala. Means it gives us the sense of auspiciousness only when it is used in a different sense. But here it is used in a different sense. So here it is not used in a sense of Mangala. Here it is used in a Anantariya sense, like Shankaracharya has already told. So if you use it in some other context, then it may give the idea of Mangala or auspiciousness. So there are so many contexts. So there is this context. Omkarascha Atha Shabdascha Dvatevau Brahmana Pura. Like that. So this is Pura, means everything at the beginning of the creation, Om and Atha, that came out. These two came out. These two words or these two sounds came out. Like that, when you say, then you are immediately reminded about the creation, etc. And so it might give you a sense of auspiciousness, but not here. And also it is not giving you the sense of Mangalacharana. Purva Prakrita Apekshaya cha Falata Anantarya Avyatirekat. So here, whatever has been said, Purva Prakrita Apekshayaha, Apekshayaha, Purva Prakrita Apekshayaha, Apekshayaha. So compared to or with regard to Purva Prakrita, Prakrita means said. Here it means said. Purva earlier. So what has been earlier said? Cha also Falataha, in effect or effectively, Anantarya Avyatirekat. So there is no difference. Vyatireka means difference. Avyatireka means no difference. So there is no difference from Anantarya, means succession. So whatever has been earlier told also, based upon that also, there is no difference in meaning of Atha other than immediate succession or succession, succeeding one thing after the other. That is what we have to understand. So effectively or means ultimately. Ultimately, if you analyze and see, it only means Anantarya, So it does not mean adhikara. It does not mean beginning. It also does not mean Mangalacharana. It just means Anantarya, after something. Why? Because that is what is here making meaning. That is what is here contextual. That is the context. So we have to understand, how does a person understand meaning of words? Meaning of words. For example, there is this word, you are so bad, something like that. In Hindi, in other languages, all that word in bad. In Bengali, they may say, Tumi dushtu. Okay, this is dushtu means bad. So that word, that phrase, you are bad, that can be told in different ways. Each time it will mean a different thing. Suppose somebody is saying, Tumi ki dushtu, means how bad you are. So that does not exactly mean that that person has to be killed or something. Okay. So when we say that children are mischievous, so we actually like that they are mischievous. We want some mischief to be with the children. So like that, depending on the context, we have to understand. Then you get angry and say, wow, it's so bad. What is happening now is so bad in some part of the world. So like that, when you say, everybody understands what I have referred to just now, but let us not go there. So very bad. Like that, when you say, then you are really surprised, shocked, and like such thing can happen ever in humanity, though that is bad. So there you understand this. I'll give you another example, which is quoted so often in the scriptures. Usually we understand meaning by following what our elders are telling. Means when we are children, when we are young, not afterwards, nobody follows the elders, but when we are young, when we are learning the language, we just listen to the elders and we try to make sense. That is why there is an interesting thing. Every family has a collection of words which is used in that sense only in that family. It's very interesting if you think about it, that those words will have that specific meaning only in that family. In some families, it's about different kinds of food. In some families, it's about something else. How does it come? Because the small child is seeing two adults speaking. As I told you earlier, Mimamsa philosophy gives us the toolkit or the techniques to analyze and understand meaning of words. And so Advaita Vedanta uses it completely. It uses the logic given by Nyaya philosophy, and it also uses the technology for mind management given by yoga philosophy. So one child is sitting and seeing two people talking, and one person says, Saindavam Anaya. You bring that which is produced from Sindhu. Sindhu. So Sindhu can mean either ocean or it can mean Sindhu Desha, means the countries which are on the other side of Sindhu. So Saindhavam Anaya. So Saindhavam can mean Arabian horse. They are wonderful horses. So Saindhavam can mean Arabian horse. Now this kid will be thinking, oh, I was taught like A for apple, S for Saindhava, horse photo they gave. Now suddenly why mother is telling or father is telling Saindhava Manaya, he is eating food. Why does he want horse now? So he is confused. Then immediately somebody comes and brings that salt. So when the salt is brought, his brother brings that salt. Oh, father, you asked, so this is salt. So when salt is brought, the young kid sees, oh, so Saindhavam here means salt. So that is how we understand the context. So everywhere there is a context. You have to understand everything in the context. Only when you understand things in context, only the earlier today I was telling someone that Swami Vivekananda has said so many things. Sri Ramakrishna has said so many things. Take them out of context and they lose their importance and meaning. So it has to be, because we are so fond of, memorizing some quotes and repeating it left and right and center. We should understand that everything has been told in a context. So Sandarbha is very important. The context is very important. That is why, though the word is Atha, but in that context, it does not make sense that it could mean Mangalacharana or it could mean commencement. So here it only means Anantarya, it only means succession. Then Shankaracharya says, Sati cha anantaryarthatve yatha dharma jigyasa purva vrittam Veda adhyanam niyamena apekshate evam brahma jigyasa api yat purva vrittam niyamena apekshate tad vaktavyam. Very simple Sanskrit. Sati cha anantarya arthatve. So sati cha means let it be so, or it being so. It being so means the meaning of atha being in the sense of succession. Meaning of the word atha being in the sense of succession. Yatha, just like dharma jigyasa. So the philosophy just preceding Vedanta is Mimamsa, also called Purva Mimamsa or Jaiminiya Jaiminiya Mimamsa. So or Dharma Mimamsa. So Dharma Sutra, Jaiminiya Sutra, Purva Mimamsa Sutra or Mimamsa Sutra. How does it start? It starts Athato Dharma Jigyasa. That's how it starts. Athato Dharma Jigyasa. So there also there is this Atha means Anantari Arthe. It means in the sense of succession. So Yatha, just like Dharma Jigyasa. Dharma Jigyasa means the desire to know Dharma. So Dharma means what? Not religion. Dharma never means religion. There is this eternal argument of the differences between Dharma and religion. I'm not going into that now. What does Dharma mean? Dharma means the injunction, that is that which impels you to do some action in the scripture, in the Vedas. So that is the definition given of Dharma in the second sutra of Jaimini's Mimamsa Sutra. So Chodana, that which gives you, impels you to do something, that is Dharma. So that essentially means Dharma means that which impels you to do Vedic sacrifices, Vedic rituals. That is Dharma. So there is a specific meaning of Dharma in the Mimamsa Sutras. So to know Dharma, Dharma Jigyasa means the desire to know Dharma. As in that, Yatha Dharma Jigyasa Purva Vrittam Veda Adhyanam Niyamena Apekshate. Just like Yatha Dharma Jigyasa Purva Vrittam, as a precondition or requirement, preliminary requirement of Dharma Jigyasa, of the desire to know Dharma, Veda Adhyayanam Niyamena Apekshate. Niyamena means necessarily, compulsorily, Niyamena, compulsorily, or nowadays if you say legally, statutorily, because nowadays most people, particularly in India, will not do anything unless it is made a law. After it is made a law also we will not do. We will try to find out what is the loophole. If not hire an advocate, we will at least try to grease the palms of some people who are implementing the law. So that is why it's so difficult to implement anything in our country. Why? Niyamena apekshate. Mandatorily it is necessary. It is expected. It is demanded. What is demanded? Veda Adhyanam. So unless you know Vedas, how will you know what is Dharma, which is the injunction or the injunctive force that which impels you to perform the Vedic sacrifices? How will you know that? You cannot know that. So that is why before you know Dharma, before you have the desire to know Dharma, you should have studied Vedas, Vedaha. So you should have studied Veda. Veda Adhyanam Niyamena Apekshate. Apekshate means it is expected. It is demanded means it is expected. It's expected that you have studied this. So before you study calculus, it is expected that you know algebra. It is expected that you know trigonometry, and so many things are also expected. So similarly, before you study Dharma Jigyasa, Veda Adhyanam Niyamena Apekshate. It is expected that you have studied the Vedas. It is a necessary precondition. It is a necessary preliminary qualification. Evam, in the same way, Brahma Jigyasa api, even in the case of the desire to know Brahman, api also, Yat Purva Vrittam Niyamena Apekshate, Yat, that, what, Purva Vrittam, as a necessary precondition, Niyamena Apekshate, it is compulsorily expected or demanded, Tad Vaktavyam, that I am going to tell, that I will tell. Tad Vaktavyam, that has to be told. Vaktavyam means Tavya Pratyaya, they call. That is a conditional Pratyaya. It has to be told. It is a condition. So in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is told, Shrotavya Mantavyo Nidityasitavya. So that means it has to be heard, understood, and then it has to be meditated upon, and it has to be become one with, etc. So that means it has to be done. So there is a condition. So it has to be told here, Vaktavyam. It has to be stated, it has to be told. And what has to be told? Just like for Dharma Jigyasa, one has to study Vedas beforehand as a condition. Similarly, what is it which is the condition for Brahma Jigyasa? Because if Athato Brahma Jigyasa means Anantarya, it means succession, then what is the condition for Brahma Jigyasa that has to be told? Swadhyaya Anantaryam tu Samanam. So here, again Shankaracharya, in his very wonderful way, he makes one thing very clear. Swadhyaya Anantaryam. In succession of Swadhyaya. Just like in Dharma Jigyasa, you have to study the Vedas. So if someone were to say, oh yes, so in Brahma Jigyasa also you have to study the Vedas. What is the difference? After all, we are only analyzing Vedanta, so you also study Vedas. So there, Shankaracharya uses a word Swadhyaya. Now, Swadhyaya here does not or may not mean the usual meaning of the word Swadhyaya. Here, Swadhyaya means one's own part of the Vedas. What does that mean? Traditionally, everyone was given the first three varnas, particularly the first varna Brahmana, were given a particular Veda. That is why in the North India you will see Vedi. Vedi is a surname of a Brahmana community. What does it mean? Another thing, Brahmana community, not Brahmin community. Okay, so Brahmin has got a meaning in English, which is something else, elite class like that. So Brahmana is what we are talking about. Many people like to use the word Brahmin. It might not, it comes with a capital B. So it might not mean exactly what we want to mean in English. So Brahmana is the correct word. Brahmana, so that Brahmana, Vedi. Why Vedi? That person's responsibility is to take care about the teaching and propagation of one Veda. That is why Vedi. That Vedi has become Bedi. It moves upwards to Punjab, it becomes Va becomes Ba. Because in many languages, Va and Ba, they are interchanged. So that even Panini sees that and he tells about it in his Ashtadhyayi. So Va, Ba. So Vedi becomes Bedi. Means what? They are in charge of one Veda. Then there is Dvivedi. Means that person is in charge of two Vedas. Then there is Trivedi. They are in charge of three Vedas. Then there is Chaturvedi, who are in charge of four Vedas. So they are to propagate and to preserve all the four Vedas. Similarly, in Vedas also, there are different shakas because it has been told by mouth. So everyone will hear, and over a period of time, there will be some differences in different branches. Shaka. Shaka means literally that branch. So like Madhvandina Shaka, Madhyandina Shaka, there were different shakas are there. So those shakas, they will have different renditions. Some changes will be there. So here Shankaracharya says Swa Adhyaya means that chapter or that text which belongs to you. That means which has come into your possession traditionally. What it means is whatever you have to study, anantaryam tu samanam. That you have to study it as a pre-qualification, as a preliminary qualification. Tu is indeed samanam. That is same here. That is for Dharma Jigyasa, Brahma Jigyasa, it is samanam. So Atha does not mean that. That is what he is saying. The word Atha does not mean study of the Vedas, because that is understood. It is samanam. It is common. So then what is the thing? Like that one may have the question. And so here Shankaracharya, he guesses the Purva Paksha. He immediately brings the Purva Paksha. Now here the Purva Paksha is, we can say the Purva Paksha here is Mimamsaka. Mimamsaka is the Purva Paksha. So Purva Paksha says Nanu. Nanu means no, it is not. Nanu means is not. Means what you are saying are not correct. If you go to some people, particularly who are superior, working in office, you go to them with anything, they'll say first, they will start with no. No, 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 they will say. Or sometimes children go to parents also, no, 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 no. So when you start a conversation with no, afterwards, whatever is going to happen is quarrel. Without even going into that, you can understand. So the best way to start a conversation is to say yes. Somebody is asking, oh, shall we do this? Shall we sell our company and start some new company like that? Something like that, ridiculous, something somebody is asking, and you know that it is not going to happen. And suppose you are the boss, you say, yes, we can do that. But what will happen to all these employees? Something like that you put. So yes, here objection always starts with na. Nanu. No, 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 it cannot be so. Why? Iha karma avabodha anantaryam visheshaha. So here, Nanu, it cannot be so. What you are saying is cannot be so. Me, you are saying that Atha means something else. That could not be so. And you are saying that Swadhyaya Anantaryam, that is after studying of the portion which is belonging to oneself, that is Samanam. So it should not be taken as the meaning of the word Atha. And that somehow is not logical. Says who? The Mimamsaka. Here, in this context, Karma Avabodha Anantaryam. The philosophy of Dharma, or that is the philosophy of Mimamsa, is the preceding philosophy. So if one has to study Vedanta, would it not be logical that that person should have already studied Dharma, already studied Mimamsa, and then that person studies Vedanta? So karma bodha, avabodha. Karma avabodha means, karma means Vedic rituals, not just any work. Karma avabodha anantaryam. So understanding of the Vedic rituals or the knowledge of the Vedic rituals, anantaryam, immediately after. So does it not make sense that here it should mean that Atha is, it should mean that immediately after studying Mimamsa? Should it not make that sense? Because it comes in that succession, that series, it is coming in that order. So that would be more sensible. Why are you saying that Atha does not mean study of Dharma or does not mean study of Vedas? Of course, it is after the knowledge of Vedic rituals, you Visheshaha, does not it become the distinctive aspect, special aspect of the word Atha, that it is studied after Mimamsa, after understanding the meaning of the word Dharma. Does it not make sense? Like that he is asking. So Shankaracharya says, no, it does not make sense that it should be after Mimamsa. Why? Dharma jignasayaha pragapi adhita vedantasya brahma jignasa upapattehe. See, it is upapatte, it is logical, or it is possible. It is plausible. Plausible. Plausible means, many people might not have heard this word. So plausible means possible. It is logical. It makes sense. It is only reasonable. What is reasonable? Dharma jignasaya pragapi adhita vedantasya brahma jignasa. So even pragapi, even before dharma jigyasayaha, even before the desire to know dharma, adhita vedantasya, a person who has studied Vedanta, that means Upanishads, Brahma jigyasa upapattehe. It is quite possible that you are saying that for understanding dharma, athato dharma jigyasa, their atha means Veda adhyayana anantaryam. After the study of the Vedas, you are saying that. You are saying first you study the Vedas, then you will have dharma jigyasa. But it is equally possible that a person has studied the Vedas and instead of dharma jigyasa, that person has Brahma jigyasa. That person wants to know Brahman, not dharma. So that person might be more interested in Vedanta. Like, Shrotavya Mantavya Nididhyasitavya hai. What is this Shrotavya Mantavya Nididhyasitavya? I want to know that. It could be logical. That person, you are saying that no, that person will be more interested in sentences like Agni Hotram Juhuyat Swarga Kama hai. Not necessary. This person might be interested in this Brahma Jigyasa. If you go to a restaurant and you give a menu to the members of a family, not necessarily everybody will go for Chinese. Some people will go for Tandoori. Some people will go for South Indian. Some people will simply not eat anything. They'll say, Corona Baba, I should not have come to the restaurant. I will not eat anything. Whatever. There will be different choices. So how can you say that Adhita Vedanta, a person who has studied Vedanta, that means it includes Vedas. Vedanta means not just only Upanishads, a person who has studied also Vedas. Dharma jigyasayaha pragapi, even before studying Dharma or even before having the desire to know Dharma, that person might have a desire to know Brahman. We have a classic example here itself. 58 people are now there. Oh, if you include me, then it is 58. So if you reduce me, then 57. So 57 people are there. Some people have gone, I think. So anyway, there were one time there were 64 people. So 57 people are there at this time, 1027, trying to understand Brahma Sutra. So some Brahma Jigyasa is there. I will give you benefit of doubt. I'm not very sure whether all 57 have, but benefit of doubt. There is some desire. But if all of you, I ask you, have you studied Dharma Sutra? I'm confident that very few, if at all, again, benefit of doubt, if at all somebody has studied, very few might have studied. But most of you might not have studied. Also, most of you might not even have studied the entire Vedas. But even without studying Vedas, by just listening to some Upanishads or studying some Upanishad Vedanta, you have got a desire to know Brahman. That's the classical example. Here it's a live example. So that is what Shankaracharya says. Dharma jigyasayaha pragapi adhita vedantasya brahma jigyasa upapattehe. It is quite logical. It is quite possible that a person, even before having the desire to know Dharma, might have the desire to know Brahman. So here we will end today and rest we will see day after tomorrow. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu. Does anyone have any questions? Question. Brahma Jigyasa question. Smriti, any question? No question.
No, Swamiji.
Then one question. Shubhadeep, any question? Shubhadeep, can you hear me?
Yes, Maharaj.
Is there any question you have?
No, nothing that I can think of right now.
Which I have a question.
Hello? Is there any question? Hello?
Hello, Swamiji, can you hear me?
Yeah, what is your name? What is your name?
So, am I audible, Swamiji, now?
Yeah, you are audible. What is your name?
My name is Ankush.
Ankush. Yeah,
Paul.
please tell me, Ankush.
Swamiji, I have it's just an inquiry about the today's lesson. Do we have recordings available for to reference it later? I mean, when we revise these learnings, what we have learned
All the
today.
classes which have happened till now also, and in the future also, all are being uploaded to YouTube, and the links are being put on the WhatsApp group. So there is no problem.
Okay.
And also
Okay,
we
Swamiji.
might give you the audio files also. So that will be directly uploaded on WhatsApp, and the link to YouTube will be given in WhatsApp. So there have been 8 lectures. This is the 9th lecture. So you will get all those things there.
Okay,
But
I mean that will happen later or within coming days. With
no,
the 8 lectures that
till
will
now 8 lectures are already there, and this audio will be, you will get this audio tomorrow. In YouTube, it might go after some 3-4 days. You will find it on YouTube.
Okay. No, I was wondering the 8 other lectures. Are they already on YouTube?
Yeah, they are already on YouTube.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Swamiji, the YouTube playlist link has already been sent on WhatsApp. So,
Yeah, so on WhatsApp, you will find that playlist link. Again, we will send for people who have joined later. We will send. Is it not, Smriti? That's possible, isn't it?
yes, sure, Swamiji.
So no other
Hari
question
Om.
you have. See,
Hari
there
Om
is one.
Swamiji.
Huh?
Hari Om Swamiji, Satya Prakash over here.
Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.
Swamiji, my question is, we are speaking of studying Vedas. So, what is the first step in studying Vedas? Is it the Brahmanas or the Aranyakas or the Upanishads, or it is just a jignasa from my end?
So now we don't have, you see, Kali Yuga, what we lack, 2 things we lack. One, we don't have time. Another one, we don't have energy. Sri Ramakrishna says, Kali Yuge anno gato pran. So in Kali Yuga, the prana, the prana is annagata. It is completely dependent on food, energy. Energy is completely dependent on food, and time also we don't have. So that is why probably Shankaracharya is telling Vedanta. If you study Vedanta, it is quite possible you will have Brahma Jigyasa. So Vedanta means Upanishads. The Vedas are classified like this: first Samhita, then Brahmana, where rituals are talked about, Samhita, where prayers are there, and then Aranyaka, where most of the Upanishads find place. But how do we have so much time? That is the question. So it's better to first go to an Upanishad which can be easily understood, and also Swamiji extols that Upanishads, praises that Upanishad, Katha Upanishad. So Katha Upanishad you read, and then you have all the things which are necessary to give you a fair idea about what is so unfair about this world. You will get that idea. Katha Upanishad. So, or read the Gita and read Katha Upanishad. Then you will get an idea. And if you want some Vedantic concepts and terminologies to be clarified, just read Tattva Bodha. This is what one has to do. Studying all the Vedanta, Vedas, all the Upanishads, etc. Where is the time? So if you study these properly, the Gita, Katha Upanishad and Tattva Bodha, you may say, oh, Swamiji, what are you saying? This is not how traditionally it is studied. I know. I very much know traditionally how it is studied. I have all studied all that manner. But the point is, we have to also be realistic. There are so many things you're all juggling together, no? Juggling. And you are all means I am also juggling. because people should not get the idea Swamiji has got nothing, only he will give lecture like that. No, you all know, most of you know, Ramakrishna Mission monks are given a lot of work, and that is a model Swami Vivekananda created in front of the world, how work can be done. So we are already juggling with so many things. So we should make a judicious choice of what to study. So if you want to study, first study Gita, Tattva Bodha, and then study Kathopanishad, then you are good to go. I don't think you will find, some details will be new, but you will not find some basic concept which is not there in these texts. So all other details or expositions will be more and more. You can go on expounding, explaining, etc. But all these texts, Gita, Tattva Bodha, and Kathopanishad, what they talk about, that is what all other texts will elaborate. So it's better to first study this. So then if you have studied this, then as far as I understand, for all practical purposes, you have become ready to study the Brahma Sutras. Only thing is, then when a particular context or reference comes to some other philosophy or to some other text, that has to be studied at that particular time. Because you might not have studied Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, then when whatever portion is analyzed in the Brahma Sutras or Taittiriya Upanishad, then you will have to go and study that at that particular time. So that is a very good way of studying. And again, one has to remember that the purpose of this study is not to become a scholar of a particular text, but to attain moksha. And in the Gita, it is told that people who have understood the tattva or the truth, they are ihaiva taihi jitaha sargaha. They have here itself conquered attachment. So here itself, even while alive, you become Jivan Mukta. So that is the state we should covet, we should desire, that you be free while you are even living in this body. So nothing affects you. Is there any other question?
Pratap Swamiji, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I'm Sanchit from Bangalore. I'm asking, what is meant by Dharma Jignasa? Is it related to Karma Kanda, or is it also related to doing good works and getting punya?
What is your name once again?
Sanchit.
Sanchit.
Ji Maharaj.
From where? Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Maharaj.
From where are you?
Bangalore.
Bangalore. So, Sanchit, I explained that during the course of today's talk. That is, dharma means here the meaning is the knowledge. Dharma means the impulse or that which propels you to perform Vedic rituals. That which inspires you to do Vedic ritual. That is called dharma, according to Dharma Sutra, Mimamsa Sutra.
Okay. And is it fine to have no Dharma Jignasa at all and have only Brahma Jignasa?
That is
Or
what
is it-
Shankaracharya is saying. That is what Shankaracharya is saying, that even before somebody has Dharma Jigyasa, they can possibly have the Brahma Jigyasa. So why should somebody have Dharma Jigyasa? Not necessary all the time.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Any other question?
Pranam Swamiji, this is Niranjan from Johannesburg. I have one question, Swamiji. We went through few Upanishads, Tattva Bodha and Trigdrishya Vivek. All are very, very good, Swamiji. But after some time, we feel like we were not quite sure how to put everything together. So one thing that will be helpful is like to have some visual representation of everything we are discussing, Swamiji. Is there an option available, Swamiji?
We can think about it. We can think about it.
Because when we are
Good
studying,
idea.
we are getting that idea, Swamiji, but after some time, we were not able to visualize the whole bar maybe. We're able to see each parts when we are going through that, but after some time, we are losing the big picture.
Yeah, that's a good idea and it is doable. But at the same time, let me again repeat, even though I'm repeating quite some time the same thing, that the purpose of studying this is not to just understand some concepts, but to increase in us the blaze or the fire, the burning renunciation to understand the ultimate truth. That is the purpose.
True, Maharaj. Only one worry is like whether we will achieve in this lifetime. What if we miss? I think that is one question that always bothers.
Now, why are you
With the
worrying?
COVID,
Why are you
the two with
worrying?
the COVID, our predictability is like few days.
No, don't worry. You have been given guarantee, which is greater than any money back guarantee. Amazon 30 days guarantee, Flipkart also, I think some guarantee. You have been given guarantee. Did you not know?
I'm not aware of the guarantees, Swamiji.
Okay, so for all those 50 people, 49 people who are here, 50 includes me also. Dashamas Thomasi, there is one story. I keep on forgetting this. So 49 people who are here, I am repeating this guarantee. Towards the end of the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna, Lord himself, gives this guarantee that if in this birth you are unable to attain your goal, don't worry. Whatever little you have done also will not go in vain. Wherever you have left your spiritual life, from there you will start. Paurva Dehikam, in your previous body, whatever spirituality you have done, it will not go in vain. All this mutual fund, all this will go in vain. Corona also will go away. But in the next birth, you will come, all you studied engineering or did not study engineering, you might have got PhD in engineering, or you might be working in a big company, all that engineering you might have done, or you have done some chemistry, or you have done some accountancy, something, or you are some police officer, whatever, all this will go away. But your spiritual knowledge, spiritual progress, that will not go away. And whatever you have got from the previous birth will be there, and you will continue exactly from there. And you will get a birth which is conducive for spiritual practice. Suchinam Srimatam Gehe. Either it will be some house where everything is very clean, means people are pure. Suchi can mean cleanliness also, but it is there, it means purity. And Srimatam, they are all very wealthy, so you don't have to bother about food and all that. That will all be served. Now and then pizza will come, burger, whatever is available at that time, that will come. And you will be there. Or you will be born in the Yogi Nam house. You will be born in the house of a yogi, a bhakta. So we do see in Ramakrishna Mission, some places we go, there's a small child is coming. The child, if you ask, I was born in Ramakrishna Mission, like that I was told many years ago. One person came and told Maharaj, I was born in Ramakrishna Mission. I thought, where were you born? Then they said Chennai. I said, but in Chennai, we don't have any hospital which has maternity division. I did not understand. I said, no, it's not possible. What that kid meant was that she was born, since birth, she is coming to the ashrama. That is what her meaning was. So born in the Ramakrishna Mission, like that. Then you will see this person is going and sitting for bhajan and all that. And since childhood, this person is coming, then some guru will come and say, okay, I will initiate you. Okay, so then that person got initiated at a very young age. And then how? That is from Paurva Dehikam, from the previous body it comes. So that Shankaracharya has given this assurance, this money back, no money back, but more than money back guarantee. Shankaracharya, Sri Krishna, confused. Sri Krishna, Lord himself, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, it is called, it said. So Krishna is God himself. So Krishna has given this assurance that wherever you live, from there you will begin. So don't worry if at all Corona takes you in a different manner. But why are you worrying? I don't know. You should not worry like that. But anyway, if you don't need to worry about spiritual life. That will be in a complete continuity. Hello, did you hear my response?
Yes, Swamiji. Yes, Swamiji. Amazing.
So don't worry,
Thanks for the guarantee.
Sri Krishna himself has assured. So don't worry.
Great, Swamiji. Great. Thanks a lot, Swamiji. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there any other question anybody has? Hmm? Somebody has asked a question. Whatever we have acquired is same as sanskara, not samskara. Shri Krishna gives, if you are asking this question in connection with what I have just said, Shri Krishna gives assurance. He gives surety, assurance that whatever spiritual knowledge we have got, that will continue. Samskara may or may not continue, but spiritual knowledge will continue. So somebody has suggested, Smriti here, that Telegram channel will be reaching more people by subscribing to one channel for all your lectures. So that is the suggestion somebody. Okay, somebody has switched on the microphone. I can hear myself.
Yes, Guruji, this is Santosh from Hyderabad.
Okay. So by subscribing one channel for all your lectures. So already there is a YouTube channel, no? You can subscribe that. I don't understand how it is different from subscribing to Telegram channel.
Swamiji, it is not possible to stay tuned to YouTube all the time on the mobile or somewhere. So mobile, it is like WhatsApp, it is common Telegram application. So that is easy to get updates from whatever you are giving lectures, YouTube links, whatever it is. So we can get there on mobile easily.
Okay, that also I will explore. But YouTube you can play, no, in mobile, is it not? It can play it. You can play YouTube in mobile.
Yes, but we have to check YouTube. But whenever
no, you don't have to check YouTube. If you subscribe to a channel and you press the bell icon, you will get a notification. You don't have to check it.
Okay.
It works, as far as I know, I have seen, it works exactly the same way like Telegram. You get a notification.
Yes.
So you will get a notification that this video has been uploaded. So you don't have to check it.
Okay.
Only thing is you have to subscribe and press the bell icon. So please do that.
Okay.
Okay. So that will help also. Okay. So any other question? No question. Okay. So then we can call it a day or night. Shubhadeep has no questions, no? Shubhadeep has gone. Okay.
Swamiji, one question, one doubt. Regularly I am facing that. So whenever elderly people, they don't listen, even that is good thing. Sometimes losing temper. So is that good to get angry on the elders like a child, on the small child? Is it good to get angry on elderly people?
In his inspired talk, Swami Vivekananda says there is nothing called righteous indignation. So righteous indignation, there is nothing. So if you are getting angry, means it is wrong. No anger is justified. Okay. So if you know that you are also telling now that elderly people have become like child. So elderly, old age is considered to be the second childhood. All this you know. So what is the logic of getting angry there? Instead of other than increasing your BP, etc.
Okay.
So basic emotional. So earlier today, I had a very good volley of exchange of words, like with one person. Okay. So that person was telling something, I also told something. I told her like that it was going on. But after the exchange, I went to the next work. I just saw this as a work. Yes, I have to tell this person these things. So work. So why do you need to get angry? You don't need to get angry, because if those, I presume those elders are your parents, just remember that those people, they suffered your childhood. Okay.
Actually, I used to get angry about their health only. So
Yeah,
at least
they
you
also
should,
used to get angry about your health only. When you used to play in water, when you wanted to eat ice cream, etc. Just remember that. We forget, conveniently forget.
okay.
See, they also used to get angry only for your good. You are also getting angry for their good. Why do you get angry? Don't get angry. Just do what you have to do. That's all. Just take care of them. What is there?
So it means that is bad karma.
What is bad karma?
Even that is whatever we are saying, we should not do like that. Is considered as bad karma.
No, you see, don't go so philosophically. First of all, it is considered bad for health. If you get angry, your BP rises, you get disturbed. It is bad for your health. It's not a good lifestyle choice. Karma and all will come
Okay.
afterwards.
Okay.
Let us be logical. Let us be commonsensical.
Okay.
Again, they say it is very hard to find people with common sense. In common, there is no sense, uncommon sense.
Okay.
But so you please understand it like that, no? And second childhood, so you are already a parent, is it not? You are a parent.
Okay.
Are you a parent?
No, I'm not married.
Oh, that is why you are not able to understand. Okay. Certain things unmarried people only will understand. Certain things married people will understand. Just ask any parent how difficult it is to bring up a child. The first 2 years or the first year, no sleep, nothing, everything is helter-skelter. And they have brought up you, no? They brought you up. So the same thing now you have to do.
Okay, Guruji.
That is what you have to do. That just keep your calm, just do what has to be done. That's all. Why get angry? There's no point. You love them. That's why you want to do that. So why are you getting angry at people who you love? I don't know. There is a strange logic. They say, you see, I'm getting angry at you. Why, you know? Because I love you. Why would you get angry at someone whom you love? But that is the logic. I'm telling, will I bother about somebody who is going on the road? I don't bother. I bother only about you. So that's why I'm fighting with you. What is this? Why should you fight with the person who is you are loving? So that they put all the logic to, they throw all the logic away. Is there any other question?
Thank you, Swamiji.
Namaste, namaste. Is there a reading to be done for the Brahma Sutras besides the Gita, Tattva Bodha and the Kathopanishad? Praveen is asking. So Praveen, please don't get tensed. You don't need to do any reading. As we read the text of Brahma Sutra, wherever there will be any reference, we will go to it. If it is a philosophical treatise or if it is Upanishad. So right now you just stay put with the Brahma Sutra. Don't get confused. Okay, because many people will tell you have to study 10 Upanishads with Shankara Bhashya, then you have to study Nyaya, Vyakarana, then that and this and that. I think that is the best way to discourage a person from studying this text. That you have to study, this you have to study. Particularly if that person is working in IT, definitely is not going to study this because already so much to study in IT. Okay then, so Smriti, we can call it night, no?
Yes, Swamiji. There's no other question.
Hopefully no question. And if there is any other question, we can take it up next time. Okay. So Shubharatri, Shubharatri. Namaste.